Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Omni. I'm Bridget Hayden and I am mad as hell. So many people have sat through that plot-heavy drama, Word of Honor, all 36 episodes, and not one person is reacting to episode 37, which is only 7 minutes long. I'm about to change that right now. This is only the most exciting BL drama since The Untamed, and it deserves full recognition. And since I'm still not finished reacting to The Untamed, I will eventually be reacting to a compilation of Word of Honor. I can't do it right now, but I'm mad enough to throw in this 37th episode reaction since none can be found on YouTube right now. I'm about to explode with my excitement and enthusiasm for this episode. Number 37 is the icing on the cake, and after such an emotionally demanding journey, it's unbelievable to me that anyone would want to stop at number 36 when they know number 37 is out there. I can't believe you were feeling anything if you don't go on to number 37. It's so heavenly and so rewarding. And it's something, it's the reward that you don't want to leave out. I mean, it's the mountain. People are still saying that they're stuck on the mountain. Girl, I know what that means. I know what that means. It's like it's such a heavenly, orgasmic thing. It's beyond that, even. It's so euphoric that you don't know what to do with yourself. It's a lot like finishing The Untamed and not knowing what to do with yourself. But because nobody is commenting on number 37, nobody's reacting to it, I can't let it go. So bear with me. I had to convince myself that watching the show and the reaction on two separate devices was worth it. I was not convinced of that until now, until I have to talk about this last episode, or at least express my delight over it. I don't know what I'm going to say because it's still so awesome that it's not easy for me to find words to explain concepts that are originally Chinese concepts that I barely even grasp as a foreigner, but which are so beautiful. I'm going to talk about them anyway and probably end up putting my foot in my mouth or saying something completely ridiculous sounding, but I'm still going to talk about it because it makes me want to talk about it. And since nobody else is, I might as well. So there you are. I have to talk about the ending scene where they're sitting in a circle and they do the arm movement so beautifully, and it's as if they're opening up their chi energy, their meridians. I've got to talk about that. Okay, this is the scene where they're passing the energy back and forth, one serving as the bowl or the container or for the furnace or the life force. I'm oversimplifying the explanation that I heard, but I got out of it that Wenku Singh poured his cultivation and energy skills into Aju, who had to be in a completely receptive mode, analogous to a bowl to contain what was being given. The Chinese actually have a word for this, and I don't have that right now, but I think activity, one has to be passive while the other is active, and one has to be active while the other is passive. It reminds me of the yin yang illustration, not just in terms of color, but in terms of movement and flow. In energetic flow terms, they have to take turns switching roles, almost like the concept of a top and bottom. Sorry, I know there are better ways to say it, but it is very much sexual. For me, it's the total metaphor for sex, for making love, because of the mechanics, but also because it can only work between people who are close enough to know when the other person needs them. Think about breath in, breath out, intake and outtake. What you give in comes back to you, and it just flows back and forth from one to the other. Connected level. All through the show, Wenku Singh showed up when Aju needed him. So I love that they literally have to exchange their most intimate energy in this way in order to survive. Basically, they have to make love in the end. When they're sitting in that circle and Win's hair turns white, they're making love to me. And I think it's pure genius that the author built up this technique in a way that is so complex that it bypasses censorship, because very few will act. It's the height of intimacy without involving genitals. The author involving, excuse me, the author, Priest, is very clever with this. He or she has discovered in their suppressed environment, political environment, that as long as you leave genitals out of view, out of the equation, out of question, you can introduce as much sexual intrigue as you want between the lines through metaphor, anything but putting it obviously in front of people's faces. People scoff when they can readily identify sexual cliches, but hide it like a pill, and they don't know what hit them. Yeah, it's beautiful, and some people will just see the beauty of these scenes and dismiss any idea of sexuality, but it's undeniably sexual, and I love that the act is almost a nod to the convincingly, excuse me, to the premise, how do you get two convincing straight guys to have sex with one another? What plot does it take? For me, romance is nothing without some dangerous chemistry in BL dramas, and answering that question is creating the perfect storm of same sex attraction. So it's a great question for a writer of BL to be able to ask. Cute and something you can really sink your teeth in, and a story that can haunt you and stay with you for, for the rest of your life. As far as I'm concerned, the way this ended in episode 37, it will stay with me very fondly, very warmly for the rest of my life. I just love it. So we've just seen Winkasing's hair turn white or hoary, and Aju opened his eyes to find Winkasing apparently dying to save his life. Okay, that was so heartbreaking. How could they ask you to just let it go right there? How can you be satisfied with letting it go right there? I couldn't. So yeah, I would have hunted that 37th episode down. And here we go. Kuzine is walking across the snow, joining Aju on top of the mountain. Look at him. He's so beautiful. He survived. Look at them. Oh, I love the way they look at each other. That's that's so powerful. The way they can just fall into it like that. That's so convincing. There they go. The fighting foreplay. Oh my god, they're so beautiful. And this is the flirtatious fighting that we all came to love. I love that we get a reprieve of this. Okay, is that kid's headband spinning? On my screen, on my tablet, it looks like it's spinning. Look at that. They're in perfect sync, spiritually, harmoniously. Eternal soulmates. Another epic couple lives. They're making love. They're still making love. They're eternal. I love that this is the last we see of them. This is the real last glimpse of. They could be in the afterlife, but I know they're alive. Oh, I love that. Nothing beats that. Nothing in the world beats that. So yes, that was bliss. Bliss, bliss, bliss. So thank you for joining me in watching that. We're watching history being made. Dramas aren't new, but the popularity of these shows have risen so much that they're tipping the balance of acceptance, and it feels like there are governments taking notice, and it feels like a good change is on the horizon, but at the same time, we still have to be protective, and I guess maybe, I don't want to use the word responsible, but we have to be careful that we don't make the situation a painful one for the people who have basically stuck their necks out on a limb and are making these shows possible, because we want more of these shows. Um, there was talk of a ban on BL dramas coming up in June, an official ban from China. I hope that isn't the case, but if it is, that goes to show that there's pressure and fear involved in something as harmless as same-sex love, and for that reason alone, the bravery of these shows becomes even more magnificent, and that's why these shows should be applauded, especially when you have scripts that are really this good. I give my thanks and gratitude to the writer and the cast and crew and everyone who made this show possible. Just like with The Untamed, I feel like something bigger than we can actually see is happening here, and I fully support it. And I hope that China continues to make progress and demonstrate for the world. I hope that the Chinese culture and all those involved continue to make these wonderful movies. I know that the love behind the art, behind the craft, will prevail. No matter what the politics are, the love inside our souls, the passion that makes these writings possible, will prevail. As humans, we're nature too. We like to say that things are natural or unnatural, but whatever a human being does is within the bounds of nature, and nature is powerful, and so these dramas are coming forth. Um, and the love that has been suppressed is, it has to say, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm a vital part of the whole world. And I think that is why so many people outside of China are taking notice, and the shows are growing as internationally popular as they are, is because there's people have been starved for this, and there's a hunger for it, and it's being met in these shows. So love is more powerful than anything, and that is what's going to rise to the top every single time. So I applaud everybody involved. Um, Thank you guys for making the show such a wonderful experience, and I look forward to that next must see BL drama. Um, China certainly puts out a quality of boys' love drama that is very special, because they don't necessarily have access to the freedom of speech, certain freedoms of behavior that other nations do. So when they do craft together these shows, it's a very special thing, because it's all that passion rising out of suppression and restraint. And when it gets to the surface, it may look differently, but it really contains at its core the essence of what we love about these dramas. And that is just the epicness and spectacularness of extraordinary love between these beautiful men. So yeah. So thank you for joining me. That's all for now.